First story. My son ate cake at his best friend's birthday party. So I grounded him and demanded that the birthday boy's mum punish her son. She refused and tricked every parent at the party into hating me. So I turned my son's best friend into his ex-best friend by forcing my son to cut ties with that boy. My son is 8. I've always been very conscious about what he eats. He doesn't have allergies or medical conditions, but I'm personally very strict about food additives, processed sugar, dyes, and artificial junk. I've done a lot of research, and this is just how I parent my son doesn't get candy, soda, or desserts, even at parties. This isn't new. It's been a known boundary in our family, and with our close friends for years. Usually when he's invited somewhere, I pack snacks for him. It's not a big thing, he knows the drill, and he's never really fought me on it before. For this party, I sent him with carrot sticks, some whole grain crackers, and ranch. It was a backyard birthday party for one of his closest friends, actually, the son of my best friend, and I had no reason to expect anything out of the ordinary. Now for some context. My best friend and I go way back. We met in college and have stayed close ever since. We even had our kids around the same time. Our sons have grown up together. But when it comes to parenting, we're polar opposites. I run a tight ship routine, structure, clear rules. Her approach is looser. She bakes constantly, her kid gets sweets almost daily, and she and her husband rarely say no to him. He's not mean or rude, just used to always getting what he wants. They laugh things off a lot and brush past behavior that I personally would address right away. We've clashed over this before. Nothing dramatic, but I've felt judged in subtle ways. Like one time, at a playdate, my son asked for a popsicle they were handing out, and I reminded him he couldn't have won. Her husband muttered something like, "Let the poor kid live a little." I didn't respond, but it stuck with me. These little comments build up. Even when I try to just keep it peaceful, I can feel how they think I'm being too much. Anyway, back to the birthday. My friend made a big chocolate cake from scratch for her son. That's her thing, elaborate baking. The kids were outside eating, while the parents cleaned up inside and chatted. Everything seemed fine until we got home, and my son went from bouncing off the walls to being a total disaster, like tantrum-level meltdowns over basic stuff. Snapping at me, crying about not wanting to brush his teeth, lying on the floor whining. That's when he told me he'd had some cake. He admitted it right away, almost like he knew it was going to be a problem. He said his friend told him it was good cake, and not the bad kind, because his mum made it herself. That stung. It's clearly something the other boy has absorbed, like he thinks I'm feeding my kid garbage and his mum's desserts are somehow cleaner or more justified. My son said he didn't want to make his friend mad and didn't want to be the only one not having cake. So yeah, peer pressure. Kid to kid, yes, but still pressure. My son knows he's not allowed to eat that stuff. He wasn't tricked. He made a choice, and he knows our rules. That's why I grounded him. Nothing extreme, just 1 week, no tablet, no playdates, and no sweets, not that he was getting any. He cried, said he was sorry, and said it was his friend's fault. I told him he still made a choice, and choices have consequences. My husband thinks I went too far. He said it's just cake, it was a party, and it's not like our son was sneaking candy every day. He thinks it's something small, but if we can't hold the line at something small, what happens when the stakes are bigger? I told him this wasn't about sugar, it was about respect and boundaries. Then I talked to my best friend. I told her what happened, and that I was disappointed. I tried to keep it calm but firm. I said I felt like her son pressured mine, and that I think there should be some consequences, or at least a clear conversation with her son about respecting other kids' boundaries. She said, "I'm sorry he was cranky, but I'm not going to punish my son for offering cake at his own birthday party." I clarified that I wasn't saying he needed to be yelled at or anything, just that she should talk to him and make him understand that not all kids can eat the same things. Her response was that she'd mention it another day casually, but she wasn't going to make a big deal out of it on his birthday. And I get that to a point, it was his birthday. But when is it ever a good time, then? They never discipline him. I've seen this pattern over and over. He throws things. He's just spirited. He hits another kid. He didn't mean it. He runs inside with muddy shoes. Oh well, they're boys. They just wave it off and move on. So to me, this is part of a bigger picture, not a one-off. She also added that, if it were allergies or health-related, we would have taken it more seriously. That part made me even madder. So because I choose to restrict what my son eats for his long-term health, it doesn't count. My parenting decisions are less valid because it's not life or death. That honestly pissed me off. I told her this isn't the first time I felt like my boundaries aren't respected. That I pack my son's snacks so he can participate without feeling left out, not so other kids can guilt him into just one bite. She said she was sorry I felt that way, but she wasn't going to make her son feel bad about sharing cake on his birthday. Later that evening, I brought it up with my husband again. I told him I needed him to back me up on this, not just because our son broke a rule, but because this keeps happening. Our parenting gets undermined by other people, and when I try to enforce boundaries, I'm made out to be uptight or over the top. He shrugged and said I'm making it into a bigger thing than it is. He said he didn't want to start a fight over birthday cake. I told him it's not about cake. It's about our son learning that if he doesn't like a rule, all he has to do is get around me, and someone will let it slide. That's a dangerous pattern. My husband said, then maybe your rules are too strict. I asked him if he actually disagrees with limiting sugar, or if he just doesn't like being the bad guy. He didn't answer. He just changed the subject. I was livid. Not just at him, but at the whole situation. My kid defied a rule he's always understood. My best friend's kid pushed him into doing it, and now everyone's acting like I'm the problem for having consequences. And honestly, I'm still not over how condescending her response was. Saying she'll just watch more closely next time is meaningless. She's not going to change anything she never has. This is the same friend who laughed when her son called another kid stupid for not knowing how to use a video game controller. He's just confident, she said. No, he's rude, and he gets away with it. This has been brewing for a while, if I'm honest. I've swallowed a lot for the sake of keeping the peace. I've looked the other way when her son pushed mine out of a hammock, and she said, they're just roughhousing. I've ignored the time he made fun of my son's lunch at school and told him his mum was weird. We even had a quiet falling out once because I asked her not to give my son gummy worms at a sleepover. And he came home bragging about how he had them anyway, and it was a secret. I bit my tongue for a long time. But this time it was in front of other kids, at a party where I made every effort not to cause a scene. I didn't scold anyone there, and I didn't pull my son out or go nuclear. I waited. I dealt with it at home. And yet I'm being painted as the inflexible one. My son is still grounded. He keeps saying, but it was a special day. I told him that rules don't disappear just because it's someone's birthday. I told him that if he feels uncomfortable saying no, he should come find me next time or tell an adult. He said there were adults outside, but no one was really paying attention. That annoyed me too. There were other parents outside, her husband included. No one noticed two 8-year-olds sitting down with cake when one of them had packed carrot sticks. What's the point of having parents supervise if they're just standing around talking? At this point, I'm seriously questioning how much longer I can keep doing playdates or shared events. I've been the crazy mom for too long in their eyes, and I'm tired of it. If I'd let my kid eat cake and another parent found out, I guarantee I'd be expected to apologize. But the reverse? Apparently, I should just suck it up. I'm frustrated with my friend, with her husband, with my own husband, and with myself for letting this stuff slide for so long. I've tried to be respectful and avoid parenting conflicts, but all that's gotten me is people feeling comfortable dismissing our boundaries. So yeah, I grounded my son. I'm holding the line. And I expected my friend to do the bare minimum and talk to her son, just once, about not pressuring other kids, even if he didn't mean it that way. She refused. My husband thinks I'm being dramatic. Ada? Comments. Comment 1. YTA. You sound insufferable, honestly. I say this as someone who also tries to limit junk food in my house. Moderation is fine. Control isn't. This wasn't your son stealing candy behind a gas station. This was cake. At a birthday party. A kid invited him to celebrate. And you're sitting here trying to turn it into some moral failing. You grounded your son because a friend convinced him to have cake. He's 8. You want him to resist social pressure. Great. Maybe model that by not flipping your SHT on a child for celebrating with his friend. You're teaching him shame around food, and that's way more damaging long-term than a slice of homemade cake. And your friend's kid was being a kid. He didn't force it down his throat. He wasn't malicious. Your expectations are delusional. You seriously wanted someone to discipline their son on his birthday because he offered cake to a guest. Get real. If someone pulled that on my kid's birthday, I'd show them the door. Comment 2. Wait, so carrot sticks and ranch are your idea of a clean snack? But homemade chocolate cake is poison. Okay. YTA. Your kid isn't allergic, diabetic, or even sensitive to ingredients. He's just not allowed to have cake because you said so. That's your right as a parent. But don't act shocked when other kids don't treat that like gospel. Your rules aren't universal law. You expected a kid to regulate your kid's behavior. That's not how it works. It's on you to monitor your son, not on the birthday boy to run interference. You didn't see them eat the cake. Neither did the supervising adults. You're mad at everyone else for your son breaking a rule you set. And now you want your friend to scold her kid for your parenting failure. Nah. If you don't trust the environment, don't send your son, or don't look away. But don't act like this was some moral failing. It was a slice of cake. On a birthday. Grow up. Comment 3. Look, I'm not going to say YT completely, because I think you genuinely care, and you're doing what you think is right. But you're missing the forest for the trees. You're mad at the wrong people here. The other kid wasn't malicious, he was proud of the cake and wanted to share it. That's normal. You didn't see it happen. No adults did, so blaming the parents or expecting a talking to about peer pressure feels like a stretch. If you're this strict about your kid's diet, you have to either hover more closely or accept that slip-ups will happen. Also, grounding your son over this. That feels harsh. He didn't sneak the cake, he made a bad choice in a weird moment. Use it as a teaching opportunity, not punishment. The more shame you attach to food, the more likely he is to lie to you about it next time. You're allowed to parent your way. But your friend is allowed to not punish her kid for offering a damn slice of cake on his birthday. Update. So a lot has happened since I posted. First off, my best friend saw the original post. I didn't send it to her, and I didn't name names, but it wasn't hard to figure out. She texted me a short, "Wow, so that's how you really feel," and then went quiet. We didn't talk for 3 days. When we finally spoke, it wasn't calm. She accused me of publicly humiliating her and her son, even though I didn't name either of them. She said I was making her kid out to be a bully for offering cake, and called me a hypocrite for saying I value health, but letting my son eat carrot sticks dipped in ranch, which is literal processed fat. That last part was funny only because I knew Reddit would bring up the ranch. And you all did. A dozen comments laughing about it like I served my kid poison in a cup. Here's the truth. I don't think ranch is a health food. It's not about being perfect. It's about choosing the lesser evils in a world full of garbage food. My kid eats carrots better when there's a dip. Ranch is a compromise I'm okay with. Homemade cake made with cocoa, sugar, frosting, and who knows what else isn't. Back to my friend or ex-friend, maybe. She told me I need to get over myself, and that my son would be completely normal if I stopped micromanaging every bite of food he eats. She said I was setting him up for disordered eating, which seems to be the internet's favorite armchair diagnosis lately. The worst part was when she said I'm not fun to be around anymore, and that I've become one of those moms who thinks her parenting is morally superior. That hit harder, even though I disagreed with most of it. But it made one thing really clear to me. We're not aligned. On anything. Not just food. Not behavior, not boundaries, not accountability. And I'm honestly starting to feel like her family's influence is the last thing my kid needs around him regularly. Her kid is undisciplined and rarely told no. And when I see the way he speaks to adults or throws fits and gets his way, I don't want that rubbing off on my son. I'd rather they drift apart while they're still young and flexible than try to untangle toxic habits later. That realization came into play again just days after. I found out my son had been sneaking candy into his backpack. I noticed wrappers in his room and eventually got it out of him. A classmate gave him some Skittles, and instead of bringing them home, he kept them hidden and ate them after school in the bathroom. When I asked him why, he said, "Because I knew you'd get mad." He wasn't angry. He wasn't even trying to rebel. He just looked guilty, like he knew he was disappointing me. That broke me more than anything else in this whole situation. I didn't yell. I didn't extend his grounding. I just sat him down and told him I'm not mad, I'm disappointed he didn't come to me. I told him I wasn't going to ban him from the planet for eating sugar. But I do expect honesty, and I want him to understand why we make the food choices we do. We talked it through. It was one of the hardest parenting moments I've had so far, and I still feel unsure about how much I'm getting right. Some of you accused me of ruining my son's joy, and I'll be real, that stuck with me. It's not the cake I'm mad about. It's that I've built a world where he feels like cake is a crime. That's not the goal. But let me be clear. I'm not changing my rules. My kid still doesn't get sugar on demand. I'm still packing snacks. I'm not throwing him into a free-for-all just to fit in with a crowd of parents who think boundaries are controlling or boring. Speaking of the parent crowd, it got worse. Someone at school shared my post. It wasn't hard to guess who did it. And now I'm that mum in the group chats. I heard through another parent that some mums are saying I shamed a child online, even though, again, no names, no locations, no identifiers. Now there's talk about limiting invitations to parties unless I agree to be chill. So now I'm in this weird social purgatory where I'm either too strict, too judgmental, or too embarrassing to be around. But here's what's funny: some of those same mums have told me privately that they get it. That they're tired of how permissive some parents are. That they wish they could be more consistent, but don't want to be labeled uptight. So now I know it's not just me. It's just no one wants to say it out loud unless someone else takes the heat first. Another thing people brought up in the comments, that this is my fault because I didn't watch my son. Yes, fine. I'll own that. I should have checked more closely. I assumed the adults outside were actually paying attention. But that's on me. Lesson learned. And to those of you who went full doomsday and said I'm giving my kid an eating disorder, I'm not ignoring that possibility. I'm watching for signs. But I'm not going to parent based on internet hyperbole either. There's a balance between letting kids go feral and giving them structure. And I'm still figuring it out like everyone else. But here's what I know now. I no longer trust my friend's judgment around my kid. My husband has since apologized for being dismissive and agreed to support our boundaries more actively. My son is learning. Slowly, awkwardly, but he is. And yes, I'm going to keep the wrench. I'm not perfect. But I'm not going to be passive either. I'd rather have a son who questions things and understands consequences than one who eats anything handed to him just to avoid a weird moment. So no, I'm not sorry for grounding him. And no, I'm not sorry for expecting more from the people around us. We're better off with a little less cake and a lot more clarity. Comments. Comment 1. I don't care about the cake. I care that your 8-year-old feels like he can't be honest with you. That's the part you should be losing sleep over. I grew up with a parent who meant well, strict, all about health, discipline, and structure. You know what I learned? How to lie. How to sneak food. How to eat when no one was watching and feel guilty every time I did. You may not be trying to do that, but the guilt is already there. It showed when your son said he ate candy in the bathroom. That's not normal. That's a shame. You still have time to fix this, and I'm glad you're reflecting. I'm not saying let your kid drown in sugar, but maybe ask yourself why it's so hard for you to bend. Why this feels like war. Your son needs to feel safe not just from additives, but from disappointment. Let the cake go. Keep the values. But make sure your kid knows you love him more than you hate frosting. Comment 2. Your post is one of the rare ones where I agree with your intentions, but think your execution is a effing mess. You're not wrong that some parents suck at boundaries. That kid sounds like a future entitled nightmare, and your ex-friend clearly can't stand being told no. But turning this into a school-wide fallout, you had to know that post would blow up. If it's a tight-knit school group, people talk. You gave them ammunition, and now you're surprised they used it. Also, lol forever at, you're not being invited to future parties unless you chill. That's hilarious and bleak at the same time. These parents sound like gossipy middle schoolers. But I hate to say it, they're protecting their own social comfort. You made them uncomfortable. Now you're paying the price. Doesn't mean you're wrong. Just means you either stay the course and stop caring what other people think, or play the game. But don't act shocked when the crowd turns on you. Second story. My cheating husband of 5 years said he needs to live his life and demanded a divorce a month before our baby was due. So I moved out to my parents. Now he claims I'm taking away his baby, begging to reconcile and wanting to be a dad. So I told him he doesn't need to be a dad, but does need to pay child support. I've been getting cruel messages from my ex, his family, and our friends for the past few days. My soon-to-be ex-husband Levy 33M and I 28F have been together for a decade and married for 5 years. I'm currently pregnant with our first baby and due next month. After I graduated, I moved back to his hometown, a major city on the West Coast, with him. I'm from a bigger city in the Midwest, but loved living out there. I thought we were happy. We planned our baby and were so excited. But a few weeks ago, he told me he was going to file for divorce. He said he didn't want to be tied down anymore. He was still young and needed to live his life, etc. He said there was nobody else, but I know since then he's been seeing someone. He wanted me to move out. But this is my house too. I put down the down payment even. So he's been staying with his friend Louis. I can't afford to live here on my own while maintaining my lifestyle. Sure, I could make it work, but it wouldn't be the kind of lifestyle I'd want to live, especially with a baby. I make really good money even, but it's so expensive. I have friends for sure, but not the support system he does. no family here. So I've decided to move back home. And luckily my company has a location in my hometown, so I was able to keep my job. My parents have been so supportive. They're divorced and hate one another, but are now combined in their hatred of Levy, which is interesting to see. They've secured me a nice rental home in my city and refused to let me pay them back, saying I need to save to buy my next house. They're paying for my divorce lawyer and my co-pays at my new doctor here. They're paying and said I'm doing the right thing for my baby and are happy to help. My mom is about to retire and even wants to watch my baby while I work after my maternity leave. So it's been an ideal situation for me. Levy is furious. He's claiming that I moved to get back at him, and I'm going to try to keep him out of our baby's life. I explained very clearly that I couldn't afford to be a single mom in San Diego, but he doesn't believe me. He's told everyone I moved back to get the upper hand on custody. That's not why I moved, but it's definitely a plus. His job doesn't have any locations here, and they won't keep him if he moves. He could get another job here, of course, but he says that's too much to ask of him. I told him I'd be going for child support once the baby is born, and he told me I needed to make up my mind. Could he be a dad or no? I told him he was going to be a dad regardless, and if he doesn't want to move here, then he will be a dad by paying child support. I don't think I'm the arsehole. I think I'm doing. I know what I have to do. But I don't know what I'm supposed to say to all these people texting and calling me and telling me I'm keeping Levy's baby from him. Info from comments. Pregnancy. 7 months. Current place. Southern California, San Diego. City moving to. Midwest. Info about other girl. She's like 38, I know, not old. But she knew he was married because they worked together. She congratulated me on my pregnancy. And has 3 kids that she doesn't even have full custody of, I found out. Comments. Comment 1. NTA. More than likely. The ones bugging you don't know the truth of the situation. OP. I mean, they know he is divorcing me. But they think I'm being petty, and I should just scale back my lifestyle so I can afford to stay in California. Why should I scale back my hobbies, travel, and savings just to convenience him? Comment 2. First off, congratulations on your baby. Second, don't respond to those stupid texts. You can block those numbers. If he sends any hateful texts, especially now with the baby, you can save those and use them in court if he ever tries to go after you. What you need is a peaceful time before delivery and a stress-free postpartum lifestyle. And go for child support. He's the one who wanted to leave for a free lifestyle. Now he's got it. OP. Oh, I'm going for full child support. Don't worry, lol. It would be one thing if this was a one-night stand thing, but we planned our baby, and he's not getting out of supporting it. Comment 3. NTA. He created this situation, and now he can walk the path he's chosen. He put you in a situation where you would not have been able to make it, and now you have a support system. He can go kick rocks. How much of a father he is depends on him, and how often he will visit his child. But tell him you understand if he's young and needs to live his life. As for anyone sending you negative messages, just block them. It's that simple. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You don't have to discuss anything with them. Just block them and be done. OP. I have blocked some of them. But it doesn't mean that I've forgotten what they said. And I was just wondering if they were right. Comment 4. Well, rest assured. They are not right. They only know what he has told them. I wonder if they even know about his side piece. Do they know he left you for someone else during your pregnancy? If not, I might be tempted to unblock them long enough to inform them of that little tidbit, and then block them again. OP. They know we planned on getting pregnant, and it even took us a few months, and that he has a new girlfriend, so I guess they do. I guess they don't care. Comment 5. Esh him for being so scummy. You being selfish and honest with yourself. You could live in California, does not have to be San Diego, and ensure your kid has a dad. Comment 6. Apparently a hugely unpopular opinion, but I'm surprised it's not a little more represented in the thread. What OP has done would be illegal if the baby had been born already. I'm reminded of this case, where the father ended up getting custody of the baby. I think OP has done a very silly thing, but potentially only to herself, and she needs to hope that her ex was telling the truth, that he is only interested in freedom, and isn't going to tie her up in court battles for years to come. If he truly didn't want to be involved, OP could have guaranteed that in writing and moved unencumbered without fear of litigation. Her being secretive suggests she knew he would want a relationship with the baby, in which case she's denied the baby a relationship with its father, and set herself up for a lengthy and expensive, more expensive than simply living in cash. Legal battle. OP. Sure, it would be illegal if the baby were born. And if I were a goat, I would have hooves. But it has not. And I am not. So none of that matters. And I have no interest in helping my ex out. Going forward, I'm only doing things for myself and my baby. I have no intention of allowing him to sign away his rights or get out of child support. If he wants to live a free lifestyle with a new woman, I won't stop him. But he will have to calculate the child support he'll owe into his budget. I didn't make the choices that lead to all of this. I'm only responding to them in ways that will benefit me the most. Glad I could clear things up for you. Update. So first off, I thought I was clear in my first post, but the number of helpful comments from people who skipped over the following info was driving me insane. I have already moved back to the Midwest, and I already have a lawyer. So no need to tell me to move before my baby is born or yell at me to get a lawyer. I have done both. A few weeks after moving out, he had filed for divorce in California. Since I was moving and obtaining a lawyer, I had not yet responded. I have an option here in my hometown, and am set up to give birth here. I have legal advice from a professional. My ex-Levy came to my place like the day after my post. I hadn't been responding to him or his friends/family, and had just muted their numbers. I got home, and he was talking to my new neighbor, who I haven't met yet. I wanted him to stop, so I let him come inside to talk, but also texted my parents what was going on. Basically, he said everything had been a mistake. He didn't think everything through enough, and that he had withdrawn his divorce petition. He said he was fine living in my hometown. He'd need time to find a job, but could work on selling the house back west in the meantime, and work remotely until he found a new job. Kind of acting like everything was fine. Very strange though, not like he was on drugs. I've seen him on drugs, lol. It's been years, but it wasn't that. I don't know. By the time my dad got there, I was very upset and not thinking clearly. His wife drove me to their house, and he stayed there with Levy for a bit and got him to leave. And he's been at my mom's and won't leave town. I don't want to get too into it. My lawyer was able to confirm he sort of withdrew the petition, but it was either incomplete or incorrect. His behavior has been odd, yes. I told them I'm not talking to him unless he gets evaluated, and I don't know if my mom wore him down or what. But he agreed and has been at the hospital all day. My mom's boyfriend has been through a lot of this with his own son, and was able to get him into a good hospital, and I hope we know something soon. To be honest, I'm exhausted and overwhelmed. I feel bad saying this, but I don't want to be dealing with this right now. I have so much going on and had already kind of divorced him and started my life as a single mom in my head. I'm not saying I'm going to stay with him, even if this is a health thing. He has crossed so many boundaries and hurt me so badly in just 2 months. But I did make a vow that I take seriously, and before all of this, if I told you he'd done any of this, you'd think I was insane. So I'm not really sure why I'm posting an update. I'm not religious, but I grew up Catholic, and maybe someone who reads this and can pray for us, I guess. They'd have a more direct line to the big guy than me right now. I'm not sure what I'd pray for. If he's fine, then he's just an arsehole, and I am fine divorcing him. But if it's something more, I'm so overwhelmed at the thought of taking care of both him and a newborn. But it would mean he hasn't been deceiving me all these years. Sorry, it's not the best update. Edit. I've gotten a few comments, and also want to say this. I have his phone. I now know for a fact the woman he was seeing was not the woman I thought. He didn't meet that woman until after he'd filed for divorce, and she still wants to be with him. I'm not saying this changes anything, but people kept bringing her up. Comments. Comment 1. How did he get your address? That's not good. OP. I gave him my address when I moved. He was an arsehole, not abusive. I was never scared of him. Comment 2. His girlfriend, who he was cheating on you with, dumped him when she found out about you and/or the baby. Of course he'll pass the medical assessment, because there's no test for douchiness. OP. I don't want to get too into it. I know this isn't the case, and I have his phone though. We'll see how everything goes. He was voluntarily admitted earlier, but they haven't told me anything yet. Comment 3. How did you get his phone? He was staying at your mom's, and you are at your dad's. How do you know he doesn't have another phone? Any way you slice it, you seem to be such a decent person. I am wishing the best for you and your baby, whatever you decide. OP. They gave it to me after he was admitted. I don't know if he has another phone, I guess, but everything seems to be on here. Comment 4. However everything goes and whatever you decide, I want to wish the best for you and your baby. You've made all the right moves, considering the circumstances. At this point, It's all about you and the baby staying safe and healthy. OP. Thank you. I agree. I know everyone is mad, I still care about him. But it's about my baby, and honestly, I think the best thing for a baby is having a healthy dad, even if he's an arsehole. If something is wrong, I might still leave him. But I'd be supportive of him getting better. And so would my family. I don't even know what I want to happen. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.